Welcome back to the Victoria's Wool podcast. I'm Victoria. This is episode 18, so when you record every week, the episodes really stack up. I forgot to put on my shawl before I started. Oops. So, the exciting thing that's happening next week, today is October, it's not October, September 13th, it's Monday, and next week on the 22nd, Wednesday, I will be releasing Meridian Lines. I started this shawl, I think, in June, and it's almost ready to be done, mid-September. The testers should be wrapping up. I've gotten some beautiful photos from everybody. There's a beautiful yellow one. There's a beautiful gray main color one. Really nice things. My mom tested it. One of my testers said the perfect description for the shawl, which is, they said it was very soothing. And it is really soothing to knit. It's very simple. The rows are easy to memorize, but the fabric it makes is just got this beautiful texture. The colors, you can really choose really lovely colors. I love the colors that I picked. Someone I follow said that they just were in love with my colors too, and I was like, oh, yes, I know. They kind of remind me also a little bit of ballet class. The colors that traditionally in ballet class dancers wear are like pink tights and pink tights and pink leotards when you're little, or like a white leotard when you're little. We wore white leotards when we were like in middle grade. Was ballet 3 when I was growing up. Wore white, which we all hated. But when you got into ballet 4, when you were like freshman or sophomore in high school, you could wear burgundy, I think, and then when you were in ballet 5, you could wear whatever you could wear black. I think you could wear black. You couldn't wear whatever you wanted. I think you could wear black. I'm not sure about that. Maybe you could wear whatever you wanted. I was in this dance school on the island I live on for a really long time, and I wore a lot of different things, and it was a long time ago, so I can't quite remember. But anyway, pink and white and black are very like classic ballet colors to me. And very connected to my knitwear, because that was what made me want to knit. Was I wanted to knit leg warmers that were long enough for me. I've told this story in a few other places. I'm almost 6 feet tall. My legs are really long, averaging like 4 inches longer than most people's average. I guess my legs are 4 inches longer than average women's legs, which doesn't actually mean anything because nobody is actually the average, right? But leg warmers were very short, so they usually would come up over my knee, and I wanted like the whole leg, so I was like, I'll just knit them myself. And this was when I was like 12. And I did make leg warmers, but not when I was 12. I made them later, and I have never made a full leg warmer because I'm not really dancing right now. So maybe if I get back into dance, then that would be something I could do. But anyway, that's totally off topic today, and I'm also speaking really fast today because I have a lot of energy right now. So the perfect time to record, because I feel less awkward about talking. I don't have to like pump myself up a little bit and like motivate myself to communicate well, because it's easy today. So I will probably talk a lot faster and a lot longer than I normally would. So just be warned. Let's see. It's fall. The day, obviously you can see the sun is coming in. Back in front of my stash, which, even though it's in plastic, I think is probably really fun for you to see on the thumbnails of YouTube. I think the videos that have me in front of my stash, I think, do better than when I'm in front of something else. But I'm not always here, so I won't always be able to record this space. But it is very colorful. All the books are there too. Maybe at some point I'll pull out the books. There, yeah, I don't know. I have both my phone recording and YouTube. The YouTube aspect ratio for iPhones is vertical, and for YouTube it's horizontal. So I have both recording at the same time. So I can only actually see my face on my phone because my phone is literally right in front of the video of my computer. So if I lean over for you to see something, I have to really make sure you can see it on both cameras. Anyway, we did get rain last night. Sunday night. It was really great. Filled the air with moisture, had a rainy, sort of drizzly farmer's market day. I work Sundays at farmer's market, and it was just a really nice day yesterday with the rain, and today it's beautifully and sunny. There's leaves, these really, really big 4 maple, I post about them on my stories sometimes on Instagram, these really big maple trees outside our window that are quite tall and very large, and they are all turning. It's so beautiful, and I try to pay attention a lot every year as it happens slowly, especially if we get a lot of days that aren't rainy, because the rain will just basically decimate any deciduous leaves, and you don't really get the fall feel because it just all falls to the ground. But if we're kind of having like an extended summer. Yeah, anyway, it's really nice. It is less than 50 days till my yarn fast is over. Which, if you've not seen a previous episode or on Instagram when I talked about this, I stopped buying yarn October 31st, 2020, and I was going to go for the rest of the year and not buy yarn, which I easily achieved, and I thought 6 months. And then that came, and I was like, oh, I'll just do the whole year. So I'm so close. I have a timer on my phone that I check occasionally, and the number is pretty high of how many days I've gone since I bought yarn. And I've been thinking about it, like, will I buy yarn on that day, or will I start buying yarn? And there was a project that came up recently. Locatelli, who's an Argentinian designer, released a Ready for Fall collection, and it has a brioche black and white sweater in it. It's really cute. If you like brioche and you like knitting sweaters, I don't know when I'll make it. Hopefully sometime before the end of the year, but I don't think I have yarn for that. You need, for my size, at least 600 yards of 2 different colors of fingering weight. And I was thinking, I haven't really looked in my stash, but I really like the black and white one. I was thinking maybe of doing like, it would look good in a lot of colors contrasted. But I think for that kind of sweater, I might want to choose yarn colors as opposed to just using what I have, which is what I have been doing all year, is choosing from what I have. One of the things that was great about Meridian Lines is that I use yarn. I had 3 or 4 skeins. 4 skeins of this Kettle black in their linen quill from Purl Soho. I had 4 of those. I had 1 peach stone, or no, actually I had 2 peach stone and 1 white, because I was going to knit a t-shirt with it last year and never did. And they happened to go well together. I didn't purchase them to go together, so it does sort of feel like a stash busting achievement, because I had the black for something else, and then I had the lighter colors, and they happened to go well together. So what was I going to say about that? Yes, I didn't buy yarn for it, and it worked out really well. And did I do that any other point this year? I knit the Goode by Julie Hoover with linen quill, because I had that from previously. But that was a plan. Like, I bought that yarn for that project, and then I just eventually knit that project. I knit the Ginny cardigan by Andrea Mowry, but I had yarn for that project. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I knit that I just had yarn for. I knit the Eagle Eye Cowl by the word maker. His maker is in his username. I'll link him below too. I haven't talked about that cowl. Maybe I will in a couple episodes when it's a little colder and I start wearing it a lot. So good. I used that stash yarn for that. I used Kellibourne Woolens. It's a blue and white color work Mobius cowl that I loved making. It was super fun. I just knit a lot less, so I don't think there's a lot of things coming up that I knit from stash, which is, I guess, sort of a disappointment that I didn't buy yarn all year and I didn't knit from my stash from that much, because I just didn't knit that much. I did knit from stash, but is it the same thing when you knit from stash? It's not. To me, it's not. If you knit from stash, means that you found a project you wanted to do, and you found yarn in your stash that would work for it, as opposed to you purchased yarn for it previously, it sat around for a while, and then you eventually knit it. I think those things are kind of different. None of it really matters, but it doesn't quite have the same like awesomeness if I planned to use that yarn and purchase that yarn for it. Anyway, in thinking about whether or not I want to continue my goal of not buying yarn, I think I don't want to. I think I would like to buy something. Maybe for that hoagie sweater. I also want the Kellibourne Woolens camper yarn, which is the fingering weight version of Scout. If you've never used either one of those yarns, I highly recommend them. They're really nice. And I wanted to buy some of that. Maybe I could use that for hoagie sweater. Maybe I could use Foxy Lady, because it has kind of a similar fiber content to what Hoagie used for her sweater. So I'm just not sure. What I don't want to have happen is just to start buying a lot of yarn, because was not the point. The point was to just chill out on the purchases. I used money for other things. That felt really great. I had previously, I do support buying yarn. I do support buying patterns. I just did a lot of it in 2019 and 2020 and probably 2018. Since I've become a knitwear designer, it's like I can buy whatever I want because I can write it off on my taxes. And I looked at all those. I had the expense sheets for all those years, so I know how much I spent on fiber and needles and patterns. Like all those things were itemized, and I was like, that's so much stuff. All of this, not really, but a lot of this. I really filled in a little store for myself, and I just need to take a break. And I want to buy yarns now more sparingly and use more stash. So I guess the project overall of stash busting needs to continue, but I want to see if I can purchase. I'm kind of an all or nothing person, so I'm not so sure that's going to work out for me. The whole, I can buy a little, but I can't buy a lot. I don't know if that'll work, but we'll see what happens. I'm so close. Anyway, it's a great achievement. I'm very excited about it. You can do it too. If I can do it, I never thought I would be able to achieve something like that. I laughed at myself when I even sent it in a text to a knitting friend. I was like, what if I just didn't buy yarn for a year? Like, that would never happen. And I've actually done it. So, at least in a month and a half, I will be there, and I'm definitely going to make it. So I'm so excited about that. This pattern release is coming. I've talked about it a lot. You use 3 colors, main color for the big stripes and 2 contrasting colors for the little stripes. I made double-headed tassels because I love tassels on everything. It is a big square, but you start in one corner and you increase on either side, and you come to the middle, and then you start to decrease and you come down to the other side. And I have had these ideas about, when you're knitting something and or knitting a shawl, and you start at the tiny little corner, and I just really like it worn like this, so that you get the little tassel right there. The end of a shawl pattern can be very obnoxious because it gets really big, and you've got these rows that are like 300, 400 stitches, or 500 even if you're doing a fingering weight. And it just takes a really long time to get across. And so I keep thinking about there's got to be other methods you can do, Other construction methods that maybe make that a little less painful. And so this was sort of one of those experiments. Can I do a square shawl? And you can, in fact. But instead of the like really long hard rows being at the end, they're in the middle. So the beginning is really fun. You start at the corner, one corner, and it just goes super fast. And then it gets a little slower, and then it's really slow. You get to the peak, which I call the summit in the pattern, and then you start to descend. Like when you hike a mountain, I don't know if you've ever like gone up a big hill and you think, or a mountain, hill or mountain, whatever. And you're at the top and you're like, oh great, it's going to be so easy to go down. But actually going downhill is really hard on the body. The joints don't like it, and you have to do a lot of work to put your feet right, and it can be challenging physically, especially if you do really, really, really long descents that are really steep. If you've gone backpacking and you're carrying everything on your back and you're going down for like 2 hours, it's really hard. It's you kind of just like, all right, I think I'd rather go uphill. But then once you get to about like 3/4 of the way through, the rest of the shawl goes like, it's over. It's really quick. So it's a really interesting experience because you're like, wee, fun, and then ooh, hard, and ooh, still hard, and then woo, you're done. And so I don't think it's better than the other ways of knit shawls. It's just different. So there's that. Yeah, I think it was a really interesting experience for me. I definitely knit it again. The shawl is so soothing. It wasn't hard. But I always want to tell people, like, there are rows. My testers will knit being like, oh, I'm still working on the middle. And I'm like, I know, it's hard. Knitting has some challenging bits to it. If you knit a straight rectangle, that gets boring. So there's that challenge to it too. Like there's little shadow sides to every single project. And I just think that this just made it really, really fun. If you've never knit a square before. And my mom really enjoyed it. She had, I asked her twice. I was like, were there any errors in the pattern? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, what? What were they? Because she started knitting it, I think, about a month before I put out a testing call. And she said, yes. And I'm like, well, what are they? And she's like, well, I made holes and mistakes. And I was like, not your errors. Errors in the instructions. I just asked her that the other day. Because she really wanted to be a tester. She wanted to, like, be included. And I was like, okay, Mom, you're a tester. And I was like, did you find any errors in the pattern? Because that's what testers are for, to find errors in the pattern, if there are any. And she was like, yeah. And I'm like, what are they? And she's like, the ones I made. And I'm like, not you. We had this conversation. Not you. Did I make any mistakes? And she's like, no. And I'm, okay, good. You're a tester. You've given me your feedback. You've had a good experience. Thanks, Mom. So it's a very soothing project. I really like it. I'm really enjoying the fact that it's a little colder now, and I can start wearing it more. I keep wanting to come up with different ways of wearing it while I'm sitting here. A little donut. Probably over the shoulders, folded in half and over the shoulders is definitely like when I'm sitting knitting and I'm getting a little cold. That's how it's being worn. Oh yeah, there's kind of like that way where you do it. I'll have to think about and play with it a little bit more. Anyways, so every episode so far I've been talking about one of my older designs or one of my older finished objects, and I wanted to talk to you today because it's fall about Zever. So this is a fingerless mitten pattern with a cable that runs on the top of the hand all the way down, which I love. It's so cute. And then somehow, I don't remember how this genius came, but I decided to do it. It's hard to show it because I can't flip my hand around like that. There we go. It has a little cable on the thumb with a reverse stockinette background. So that starts out at the base of the thumb and goes all the way up. And it's hard to photograph. I've done a pretty decent job taking photos of it every once in a while and trying to get it. But it's, when I look at it, I'm like, God, that's so cute. How did I come up with that? Because I'm not so sure I've seen that in any other pattern before. Definitely like cables on the back of the hand. And it's supposed to be on the side, although sometimes when people knit it, it ends up rotating and it's kind of in the middle. It doesn't matter. It's sort of like off to the side. And I knit these out of Magpie Fibers Swanky sock, which is a merino cashmere nylon, super soft. And I came up with this idea to make these when I was knitting Kjerste'e Swanky socks, which I showed last time, used the same yarn, and I put the sock on my hand. And I was like, ooh, this is really nice. Like, these would make really great fingerless mittens. And I think I bought the yarn like the next 10 minutes. And the next 10 minutes after that, chose the color, and came up with this idea. And that was back in 2018. I think this was like the third pattern I did. They're so cozy. And I think they look really, really good on with a solid yarn, too. You can see the cable more. I'll have to look up which magpie color this is because I can't remember anymore. But yeah, so if you need fingerless mittens, I always need them. In fact, the ones I'm wearing at market right now, when I go, I work farmers market. We're outside for 4 hours, 5 hours if you count. Well, really 6 hours if you count setup and breakdown. We like take over a city block in Seattle, and we are outside. We're under a tent canopy. All of us have our own tents. But if it's rainy and windy, which it always is in the winter, it's cold. I just started using those hand warmer packets. After many years of doing winter markets, I finally broke down and started using whatever they're like, hand warmers, because it's like tucked into my sleeve or tucked into my fingerless mitten, or sometimes in my pockets at my waist. Because we had a really rough winter last year, and I don't have any hand besides these, which I try to keep really nice, so I don't want to wear them every week because they are often at a show. Like I'll do a little table at a craft show or whatever, so I'm trying to keep them nicer because it's my sample. The ones I wear at market all the time have like giant holes right here. They're just like store-bought ones. Both pairs. I have a blue pair and a gray pair. And so I desperately need fingerless mittens. So maybe this year, I have to do it now. I have a pair of like mittens. I'm making the Glamper mitten, which I haven't worked on in many weeks. That will help, but I'll have to take it off when I use my phone. Or maybe I could get a stylist. I could get a stick and then hold it with my mittened hand. Anyway, I do need fingerless mittens. It'd be great to have like the tips to make ones that also have like the individual fingers that are cut off. That would be great, but I don't know if I have motivation to make those just yet. Anyway, this is Zever. It was named after a character in a show called NCIS, which is a show my mom and I watched. It's a military like crime show that we watched together that we loved watching. And there was a character from it named Zever, and I named the pattern after her because her nickname in the show is Zever, although I spelled it incorrectly when I wrote the pattern, so it's supposed to be Z-I-V-E-R, but I wrote Z-E-V-E-R. Anyway, it just also looks like zebra, which is the color way I used. Looks like a zebra. So, yeah, that is the Zever mitten. I think it's just called Zever on Ravelry, although the hashtag for it on Instagram I think is Zever Mitts or Zever Mittens. I gotta get my names straight, don't I? Let's see. And I wanted to know I spend a lot of time on YouTube now watching yarn videos. I listen to lots of music on YouTube, and you know that front page of YouTube where you get sort of bogged down with what Instagram thinks you want to see, and I just wondered if people wanted to share with me what the clickbait is that they choose to click on. and maybe it's too personal of a question because it does sort of know your habits and everything. I get a lot of clips from Korean TV shows because I've been watching K-drama for almost exclusively for like 9 months. Got really into it, and I'm starting to learn Korean, so I get a lot of that, and I love that, and I get a lot of great electronic music stuff. And so I want to, if you want to share with me what the things are that you often are like, oh, I want to watch this, but I wasn't going to do this kind of thing, and YouTube has got me. Because sometimes I'll get stuck on there for a really long time. I love late at night, if I'm really tired, getting stuck on like comedians. That's really fun. I'll just be laughing at like 11:30 at night, having a really good time. I don't do that a lot, but every once in a while I'll let that happen. I did watch Joji Locatelli's latest episode where she talks about her new collection, and she talked about being really insecure as a designer and feeling like she needed to take a break and just do less because she said she had a lot of energy. I just really appreciated, I should probably comment on the video. I haven't yet, but I really appreciated hearing from somebody who's does beautiful work and has for a really long time, who's really well known, that they still struggle with being insecure about the things they're making. And sharing it with the world, and that they, need to take breaks. And I'm not somebody who overworks myself. I'm pretty good about taking time that I need, but then I feel really guilty about it. So I sort of am still struggling with it, even though I actually take the time to rest. Right now, I'm in the middle of like a 2-week deadline, like crazy. All these things are happening, and so I really had to plan out all of my time, and I'm fulfilling those plans. Like I'm following through with what I plan, which usually I plan stuff and then I kind of do most of it, but not all of it. But I really have I'm really highly motivated. To me, goals really happen if you're really highly motivated. So I can do that for a couple weeks before my body will start to be like, no, we want to be sitting on the couch now doing nothing. Anyway, if you get a chance to watch the episode or think those kinds of topics are interesting, it was a good one. The last thing I want to show you, I got some candles this morning from Kjerste'e at Wax&Wool. I got 2 Evergreen State because it's kind of like the staple one for me, being a Pacific Northwesterner and being surrounded by Douglas fir trees, that this scent is essential. And I have been posting on Instagram about what I've been burning because now it's fall and I can burn candles. I burn them during the summer too. In fact, I have the window open and I'm burning one right now. And I don't, at first I was like, oh no, I have to savor all the scent, but this space, the studio is really small, so it can be too much. And so having the window open is actually really great. I still smell the scent. I still have the cozy vibes. It's sunny. I still like to have the flame, coziness of the flame. It makes me feel less alone, actually, to have it lit. But I've been sharing what I've been burning every day on Instagram. Just is really fun because the candles are beautiful. They're really beautiful photographs. So I bought more. I bought a couple Evergreen States. This is her signature scent. I think she has it most of the time. She's got a lot of like seasonal stuff that you can only get if you're paying attention, like the apple cider that I am pulling them out of the bag and looking for certain ones. The apple cider that I think is done. I highly recommend Sweater Weather, by the way. I named Sweater Weather, or like I even texted Kjerste'e because we live actually pretty close to each other, and I'm friends with her whole family and have worked in the studio a little bit before she moved it out of her house. And so I was always trying to come up with like ideas, because that's really fun to come up with ideas for each other and stuff. She totally appreciates that. Sometimes getting ideas from people is a little annoying. That's why I have so many candles. I've probably got 30 now. Because, yeah, she lives so close by. What was I going to say? Sweater Weather, I sent her a text and said, you should make a candle and call it Sweater Weather. So I didn't have anything to do with the scent. But I was like, you got to do this. And she did. And it has a really cute label, I think. Let me grab it. Here's the label. Had to smell it first. as a little Icelandic yoke sweater. It's like pie and a little bit of pine, maybe vanilla. It's so good. I love this one. It was a limited edition last year, but it's part of the fall collection this year. So I know that Spice Cider is gone, but I bet you can still get this one. I think Amber Twilight, I just had my hand on it. Amber Twilight is still available, I think. That one's really nice. It's a lot like Amber Noir, which is one of my faves. That's from a signature collection. It's a little smokier, I think, than Amber Noir. What else? Pumpkin spice. I got a pumpkin spice today. I normally get the amber jar, but I actually really like the white jar too. And I got a rosemary grapefruit that is burning right now because I didn't have any fruity ones, sort of on more like fruity, citrusy. Because I try to have a balance between sweet ones and fruity ones and florally ones. The lavender, English lavender is really nice too. And then I have, like I was talking about on Instagram, I have the bourbon one I started burning. That one's really good. Smoky vanilla ice cream with a little booze. It's really nice. And I don't think, yeah. I have a lot more, and I will continue to burn them through the month. And on Instagram, maybe I'll do a little video of one burning. But if you can afford to buy candles for yourself this fall, I highly recommend her candles. They burn really cleanly. They burn straight down. The jars are really beautiful, and they last for, I think, 50 to 60 hours, so it's a really long time. Enough for me to accumulate lots and lots of them to where I kind of have to be like, all right, can't buy any more candles until I burn down these few or whatever, and then I'll just build up the collection again and burn it down. That's it. Meridian Lines comes out on September 22nd. I hope that you give it a chance. It could bring you lots of soothing knitting hours in the fall and winter time. It's knit in a fingering weight. I don't know the yardage. I have not kept that number in my brain. It's at least 900 yards of the main color, and then you need a little bit of one skein or so of the contrasting colors, and it can come in a variety. You can do a variety of different color combinations. Yeah, I hope that you have a good knitting week and that you're having some good fall weather wherever you are, or good spring, right, weather for the people, anybody who lives in the Southern Hemisphere. I believe it is spring happening. And I'll talk to you next week. Bye.